Last Friday, the Trump administration announced it was canceling $400 million in grants and contracts for Columbia University, accusing the Ivy League school of condoning anti-Semitism on campus. The administration says dozens of other schools are also under investigation for failing to stop anti-Semitism. And last week, authorities arrested Mahmoud Khaleil, who helped lead student protests at Columbia over Israel's war in Gaza while he was a graduate student. He holds a green card and now faces possible deportation. Khaleil's supporters say all he has done is espouse pro-Palestinian views that are not anti-Semitic. To explain the legal dimensions of the administration's actions, I am joined by Noah Feldman, professor of constitutional law at Harvard. Noah, welcome. This gets to the sort of central question that in some ways was part of that hearing with the university presidents, right? Which is, does a university have the right to combat anti-Semitism, or are those views protected by the First Amendment?
If you explain your views in the classroom or in a conversation, you are protected under the First Amendment and you're allowed to say them, and that means the government can't punish you. And if you're at a private university, most private universities have rules of academic freedom that also protect your expression of your view. However, according to university rules and according to federal law as it's been interpreted by various relevant actors, if you discriminate or harass or bully somebody as part of an act of discrimination, then you can be punished for expressing anti-Semitic or racist views as part of that harassment.
So you've defined it very well, and then we get to this, the hard test here, which is, suppose you're not in the classroom, it's not a private conversation, you are publicly espousing anti-Semitic or racist views. There are other people around there. Does that count as speech, or does that count as intimidation and harassment?
When you are standing, let's say, in a protest, you should, in principle, both under the university's rules and under the First Amendment, be allowed to say what you believe, no matter how repugnant it might be. When you're targeting what you're saying at particular people, and you're, let's say, in their face in such a way that it could be described as bullying or harassment, then you've crossed the line, and both the law and university regulations prohibit you from doing so.
And when you take a look at what the administration is doing in trying to deport Khaleil and things like that, now, it's a different situation where you have every right to revoke a green card or a visa. But what do you worry about the fact that this could be interpreted as an attack on the First Amendment?
It is an attack on the First Amendment. It's not close to an attack, because the U.S. Supreme Court has held all the way back to World War II, so for 80-plus years, that if you are a non-citizen who's present here lawfully and you're living in the United States, as Khaleil was on a green card, you have full First Amendment rights. So for the administration to deport him, if it's the case that they're doing so solely because of his expression of views that are protected by the First Amendment, then that is an attack on his First Amendment rights. And so by extension, it's an attack on everybody's First Amendment rights, because there's no difference constitutionally between a citizen and a non-citizen with respect to free speech.
What they say is, the administration says, is this is not free speech, this is, he supports a terrorist organization. Is that a legitimate distinction, or is one allowed to espouse support for a political organization?
When the U.S. Supreme Court has addressed this issue in the past, what they have said, in a famous opinion by the current Chief Justice, John Roberts, is that if you are materially supporting a terrorist organization, that is, you're working alongside them, then that could be prohibited by law. But if you're engaged in what is called uncoordinated advocacy, that is, you're just expressing your view that you think terrorism is great and you support terrorist organizations, that is fully protected by the First Amendment. And so unless Khaleil were to be shown to have materially supported terror, which is a crime, his speech is protected by the First Amendment.
Noah Feldman, this was incredibly clarifying. Thank you.
Thank you.